Well, aloha mai kako. Mahalo for joining us this evening for our Hānai Kia'i, our first Hānai Kia'i Roundtable. And Hānai Kia'i is a little pet project that I started, just sharing short tips, 2-minute video tips with our Hale Hoaka ohana about raising keiki in a bilingual home, maka Ōlelo Hawai'i. And I think that raising children in a bilingual home, no matter what language, always strengthens their sense of identity and kuleana, their sense of responsibility. So that's what we really wanted to discuss today. And I wanted to mahalo our guest that we have. We have Kukini Sua, and then I'm going to have them go around and introduce themselves. But aloha Kukini. We have Tiffany Kanonigo Ong. Aloha Tiffany. And then we have Napua Greg. Aloha Mai. And we have Noelani Goodyear Kaopua and Imai Kalani Winchester. And aloha. I'm sorry, babe.
Thank you, babe. Thank you, babe.
We're going to go around the circle. We'll start it here and we'll introduce ourselves. Just if you can share again your name, your full name, where you're coming in from or where you are from, and also what you do, your hana for all your different hana that you might have. So first I'll start with myself. Of course, I'm Maile Naehu. I'm coming to you from the island of Molokai. I was raised between Oahu and Maui, and now I call Molokai home for the last 15 years with my husband, Hano. And I have been an educator for the last, I think it's like 22 years already, in Nohona, Hawaii, Ōlelo Hawai'i, and so forth. So, mahalo.
Aloha, Hano Naehu. I used to be on Famous Activist. I used to Paniolo World Record. Yeah, but now I'm kind of morphing and evolving into one good husband and one good father. And Kiaʻi loco still yet, aspiring superhero.
We're just watching other old Hemo
Direct link to the kūpuna.
Direct link. Maikai, mahalo, Hano. And then I'm going to skip over to Noe and Imai.
Hānai Kia'i Roundtable. My name is Imai Winchester. I am from Mililani, Oahu. I'm originally called Waipio. I am an educator in Hawaiian Charter School movement. I'm involved with some activism stuff as well too. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha mai kako o noi Goodyear Kaopua ko inoa. He kamana kalihilihi o laumiha a me he eia. I'm Noi and raised by Oahu, various aina, but especially Kalihi and He'eia. And let's see, I work at UH. I'm an educator and also first and foremost really a mama, and we have 3 keiki. So our oldest that is 21 now is Kayakahina Li'i. So she actually has another dad, but Ima has also been a mākua to her and kumu in raising her. And then we have 2 of our own as well, 12 and 7, La'i and Imoku.
Mahalo. Mahalo. Tiffany, can you introduce yourself?
Aloha kako. I'm Tiffany or Huali'i. Tiffany is just my government name, but I respond to both. I'm from Kalihi, but I live in Mauna Lua with my ohana. I am an early educator, and I have 2 keiki. One is going to be 13 next week, and the other one is 10. My brother is actually Noi's, Hina's oldest daughter's daughter. So there's a ohana relation here. And my older one goes to Kamehameha, but originated at Anuenue, and my youngest one is at Anuenue as well.
Okay. Kukini.
Aloha me kākou, o ano hoʻi keia o Kukini. Aloha, everyone. I am Kukini Sua. From Makakilo, Oahu. I live on Maui now. I'm an educator here on Maui. Yeah, and our son is in Papaʻelua in 2nd grade. Yeah, and then I'll pass it over, I think, to Napua.
Napua.
Aloha, hiahi kākou.
Aloha.
I'm Napua. I'm from right here in Kula, Maui. I was born and raised, and I'm a mama and a kumuhula and a singer. I've been working on my juggling act, but but yeah, I was thinking, as I'm looking at the different ohana here, I'm like a whole. I'm thinking of a lot of different panel discussions that we could be on together, raising keiki with a plethora of mākua. We all doing pretty good at that too.
You know, that's so funny because right before you came on, Napua was talking about who's on your wa'a, and that we're gonna get more into that about, like, you know, handing your kid off to other mākua that we really trust in, and creating that support system.
Because I think that comes from a cultural place too, our ability to do that. Our kids think it's normal, and then they go to school and see other kids like, "Ay, how come?"
Yeah. That is such a good point. I'm so glad you brought that up. So we're going to go deeper into that. And the first question I wanted to present to you guys, and you know, if you're feeling it, then just take the floor and you can answer as you like. I want you guys to be as comfortable as you can be in this discussion. We really want to encourage parents that are kind of on the fence and not really knowing what to expect when you raise a bilingual child. So that's what we're going to be touching on today. But the first question I have is, what does your bilingual ohana look like? And some of you already touched on that. You know, we have, I know me, Napua, and Noe all had keiki before, and then we had, you know, our second wave of keiki with another kane. So we have two whole mo'olelo that we can share, and I'm really happy that we have all these different dynamics of ohana to share those stories today. So what does your bilingual ohana look like? Can everyone ōlelo in your home? Do or did your keiki attend immersion? Is ōlelo the first language spoken at home? And if not, what are the rules that mākua or kūpuna have to contribute and support a bilingual upbringing for your keiki? So there's a lot of things. You don't have to touch on all of them, but you know, it's pretty much sharing your story. So anybody want to take the floor?
First.
Oh, mahalo, Tiffany.
So in the beginning, you know, when Isla was I think and about to enter preschool, my first choice was actually Punana Leo, because of, you know, the preschool waiting list. We had applied for as many schools that we could that could support the culture and the language. And Punana Leo being first, but also full, we went on to Keikio Ka'aina. And at that time, Keikio Ka'aina and Pololo, they had a lot of kumu that were fluent speakers. And one kumu in particular was also Hina's babysitter. So I was really comfortable and confident knowing that she was going to get get the kind of education and the culture and the influence that we wanted to. So it really began there. The Keikio Ka'aina isn't an immersion, but they're more so of a dual language preschool. And we were able to kind of like ease our way into the language for Isla, and it wouldn't be so much of a oh my gosh, what am I trying to, a culture shock for her.
Yeah.
Because we don't speak Hawaiian. Hawaiian is not our first language at home. My husband's actually full Chinese.
Mm.
And his mom speaks 3 different dialects of Chinese.
Wow.
So she's so it's just, it would be really different for her. But what I picked up from her, because I had the teachings of Auntie Mapu and Uncle Kihei, I was able to help to feed her some vocabulary and just like small commands like hele mai noho ai. She responded well to that, which was kind of shocking to me because we don't speak Hawaiian at home. So talking to her in English, she's like, completely would like ignore me. And the moment I spoke Hawaiian to her, she would respond. So I realized at an early age that she responded well to the language. So I wanted to hone in on that. And it was a concern, for my husband, Shang, that he, like the language wasn't a nationally recognized language or enough to get her to from one place to the next, or credit wise and all of that stuff. And from what I knew that it takes a different type of a part of your brain to understand that and to be able to translate other languages. So it would only strengthen her. And at this point, she's learning, through the Hawaiian language, she's able to pick up on Maori and Tahitian. So just from the very beginning to where we were, our decision to go with it and to where she is now, it's a huge benefit to have had that type of cultural base, like that kahua for her.
Mai Kia'i, mahalo. So that's really interesting. So you chose a path that wasn't necessarily immersion preschool, but it was bilingual. Yeah. And your keiki responded really well. I noticed that's how it is in any classroom. Something about Ōlelo Hawai'i, yeah. The keiki they really respond really well to it.
Yeah, and I really believe in like just taking what your keiki are naturally passionate about and just really honing in on it. And so she's done really well, and in the language itself and the culture, she just really like she's just like a magnet to it. So
Mahalo.
Yeah, that was our approach.
Mai Kia'i. Noe, imai, or napua kukini?
Can you repeat the question?
Okay.
I will
repeat. No problem. What does your bilingual ohana look like? So pretty much it's talking what it looks like.
So not everybody in our home speaks. I think because we grew up in Hawaiian music and hula, where we understand more than we think we understand, because we understand mele. When Kukini and I met, obviously in our ohana, Kukini is the linguist. He's the strongest speaker we know, and great mahalo for that. But I hear words, and I don't know what that means. But is it this? Is it that? Oh, how did you know? I was like, because when I hear the word, I hear this motion. I see this motion. When I hear this word, it triggers this motion. And that's kind of my, I guess that's how my Ōlelo comprehension is.
Right.
These things are connected to, words are connected to movement. And so being that I have keiki with 2 different kane, my older ones, I call my old ones, and Kukina and I, our son is only 8. But I have old 32, 22, 23, and 21. And so they went to regular school, they went to Seabury. And when we had kahiao, they were a little bitter Because, oh, how come he gets to go to immersion? How come you guys speak, or you guys ōlelo to him, and you didn't do that with us, Mom? How come you didn't do all these things with us? And so, well, one, it's different daddies. Your daddy doesn't speak, and so he didn't want to be the only person in the hale that doesn't understand, you know, and give me a break. I was young, you know, and I wasn't assertive enough at being a 24-year-old mom, but when 40-year-old mom, I could assert myself a little bit better, you know. And so so Kukini and Kahiao, our son, are the strongest speakers in our home. And with this pandemic, I often find myself saying, like, I wish I was better. I wish I was better, because I would keep him home with me. I keep saying that if only my ōlelo was stronger. But I think the big thing for us was, and putting him in immersion, Kukini, from when we met, made it known that we're going to have Keiki going immersion. Like, he made it known. Our poor child, from when Kahiao is his first and his only, right? I don't know if you should speak about it, or but I thought, a little bit poor thing, because, you know, where most kids, they're infants, and you play like lullabies or like the white noise for them to go to sleep. No, Kahiao Sua listen to the old interviews, Maka Ōlelo Hawai'i, you know, like, so language. So Kukini was very adamant about that language would be, you know, all that he heard. Now the difficulty for somebody who's not as strong of a speaker, and he said, you know, whatever you say to him all day long, because he went to work and I stayed home, right? You gotta practice. So I would say, okay, so how do I say, I'm going to change your diaper? And he said, well, you can say it like this, or you can say it like this, or you can say it like this.
I tell you.
That's the pili kia. That's the challenge when you get one real akamai whara in the hale. And I'm like, can you just give me like the simplest, most normal? I don't need to be poetic about changing the diaper right now. You know?
Oh my God, I love it.
So, but I think our main thing, Kukini, I think you agree, and you can talk about it, for why it's, no matter the challenges, I think everybody, no matter what kind of education you're getting right now, English, ōlelo, whatever, is a challenge. But our main thing was, yes, that he speaks, but that because he getting educated in Hawaiian, we more so wanted him to think in Hawaiian and to process this life in a Hawaiian worldview, you know. And that's one thing I think in immersion learning that they get, that you know, no matter if my ōlelo is not as strong or what, it's the worldview. It's seeing things on our road from a Kanaka perspective, instead of translating, you know, if that makes sense at all.
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted Hano to also talk a little bit about his experience, because everybody's experience is different. So you want to share a little bit?
Yeah. So
about our ohana.
So I could take you back right before I met her. And we were actually watching one of our old episodes of Hemawai Brothers when we were fighting to stop the La'o Point development. And I went backstage at the KCCN FM 100 birthday bash, forget all of the musicians, for Tell Moloka'i. No, I run into this one, get her on camera, and she start talking in Ōlelo Hawai'i. And I could feel the power, the ono, and I mean, to this day, that's the moment I would fall for this wahine right here. And in my mind, I was like, all right, now I can, my kid's going Ōlelo. I never think I was going to teach them. I just think I needed to find one like this. And when I saw her and I felt the Ōlelo, I mean, I would melt, and everything that I wanted to have as one family would lie within this wahine, on the tongue and in the spirit and in the body. And so for me, being from Molokai, there was a lot of Molokai people, especially of our generation, that are afraid of the language. A real hard time. And I would consider myself, I would put myself right in there. Not only hard time, but I would also say that she has been so amazing with it that I never have to pull too much weight. And so for me, like when she asked me about this question and about our kids, is like the first thing will come out of my mouth is like, oh, we live Hawaiian. I can go take them fish. I can go take them hunt. I can go take them, makahiki. I can do all this kind of stuff. And for me, that was enough. But listening to like you guys talk and really looking deep in myself, like I feel shame right now. Like I'm not doing enough.
No, I would disagree. I think that's really what we wanted to touch on tonight was that about the Waʻa, and you're a part of my Waʻa, right? So you're giving our keiki things that I cannot give them. Yeah. And I'm giving them things that you cannot give them, right? And so how do we create that support system? And what does it look like? Whether it's through halau, through mele. I love that you said that, Napua, because I know exactly what you're talking about. Because before we could even Ōlelo, I remember I think it was puahone. Like I didn't even know what they were singing about, but I knew what they were singing about. And I remember thinking, wow, I understand some of this, because you hear the words and you associate these movements with it. And through that, we understand our world. I love that you said that. And so it can come through all different forms. So I would disagree with you.
No, I understand that. If I wasn't me, then I would be, real shame and whatever. But, when that's why finding a partner that where your weaknesses are her strengths, or her weaknesses is my strengths, it's been everything for our ohana. Yeah. And I believe that a lot of times if the mama really like the kids be smart, then the kid's gonna be smart.
Yeah.
Something, the father can do that too, like Kukini. But most of the time, it's like the wahines, they like, it's just like if you like your kid be solid, and that's where most of the mana to me lie. And for us is just try to keep them safe, keep them loved, keep them confident, keep them hopeful into whatever they're going to encounter.
Yeah.
Brave, courageous, and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I wanted to also just talk about our ohana. We have 3 keiki. My oldest, our hiapo is now 22 years old. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And he went to Punana Leo. He's the only one that went to Punana Leo when I was still living in Lahaina, and I became a kumu kokua there. And then I progressed with him. I moved up onto the hill and became a kumu at Nahi Ena Kulakaiapuni there. And I was his kumu for like 4 years in a row. He was like sick of seeing my face. I literally followed him, and with that journey, my Ōlelo strengthened. So that's how I strengthened my Ōlelo. It was all up here before when I went to Kulanui. When I went to UH Manoa, I was real scared to let it puka from my waha, from my mouth. And it was all stored up here. I could translate, I could read. But to carry a simple conversation was very nerve-wracking for me. And so I jumped into being a kumukokua knowing that it was a lifetime commitment. And so I had to strengthen my Ōlelo. So that's the main reason I took the job, and through those years of teaching, I strengthened my Ōlelo. But my second daughter didn't go Punana Leo. Our third that we had together didn't go to Punana Leo. I decided to take another route, mostly because we lived really far on Molokai by that time. And Punana Leo only get one on the island. So it's mostly just out of being practical and knowing that I could offer my girls what Punana Leo could, because I had the experience. So that was our immersion experience. All three of them went to Kulakaiapuni until Papaiono. Our youngest is in Papaiono now. So we have a 22-year-old, a 19-year-old, and our youngest is now 11, almost 12. Kawahine Ilikea. And so, I know, yeah, she's almost 12. Papaiono. And so, you know, our journey actually kind of shifted once they reached Papaiono. We decided that we didn't want to continue Maka Ōlelo in the DOE system anyway. There was always that kahua at home, that foundation at home of Ōlelo Hawai'i, but we decided to put them into English classrooms, starting Papa Ehiku. And they were prepared. So our journey was kind of like this bilingual one from the start. As soon as they showed interest in English, which was like first grade, kindergarten, we introduced English. So I read, you know, nighttime stories was in English and Ōlelo Hawai'i. And so they became pretty proficient in both languages by second grade-ish, you know. And so by seventh grade, I was like, I think they can handle. And they did my ka'iloa, but their Ōlelo weekend, you know, the Ōlelo weekend, and they got rusty over time. And so once they reached high school, they're like, oh, we got to go back. And they started taking Ōlelo Hawai'i classes again, just to stay fresh. But so that was our journey. And now that the two older ones are in college, they really, you know, in high school, they kind of drifted away from showing so much interest in Nohona Hawaii or living the Hawaiian ways. And they explored their teenage years, you know, how they do. And then once they went away to college, it was like this calling back that they've both been having. Like, I need to come back. I need to go back and start strengthen my Ōlelo. And it's kind of a really beautiful thing to happen, that we try not to shove it down their throats too much, but to let them have a really strong kahua and then navigate their way back home once they go experience. Yeah, so Kukini, can you share about your bilingual ohana? You were shared parenting with Napua, Kahiau, beautiful Kahiau.
You know, Napua, you know, she teaches so much to our son, and you know, I was, you know, like, and I'll tell her, hey, you know, a lot of Hawaii stuff, I can handle that. I can handle the homework, because, you know, actually, you know, homework in Kaupuni is not like the kind of Ōlelo Hawai'i we learned in college. You know, it is very applicable to like education. And so, you know, like, it takes me a little while to actually figure it out and look at it. And I teach, and I can figure out pretty fast, okay, this is what this is, and terminology and whatnot. So I'm like, you know, I'll take care, you know, but she read with him, and she does all the ha'awina with him, and but also, you know, very, you know, we're very blessed and fortunate that, you know, like, she's a prolific chanter and kumuhula, and she also provides that foundation for our son. And you know, from the get-go already, you know, we didn't even have to communicate that, but we knew already the worldviews and the access to worldview that we wanted our son to have. Mm-hmm. And so through language, through culture, you know, not only, you know, he is bilingual, you know, and I only Ōlelo Hawai'i to him, and he answers me in English. You know, English is so, it permeates everywhere. No matter, even in my friends' homes that only Ōlelo Hawai'i, everybody in the home Ōlelo Hawai'i, English still permeates those homes. And you know, so recently I've been a little bit more firm with him that, hey, you got to answer daddy in Ōlelo Hawai'i. You know, I remember our interview for Punana Leo, and they asked us, you know, our commitment to immersion education, and my response was that the best Hawaiian education in Maui is in our home. Mm-hmm. And after our home is Kaipuni. And I really appreciate that. Again, the language you speak in your home is different than language in the classroom, and it's different than other language. And I was really appreciative of all the Punana Leo and the Kaiapuni that continue to supplement his language, supplement his worldviews. Napua does an awesome job in developing and setting his kahua, and the kumus there add to that foundation, add to that worldview. Very appreciative of the kumus for he did kilo ha'avinas last year and whole bunch of other stuff, along with all the rest of the education they learned. But it is strengthening worldview, and their so again, I think we're again real fortunate and blessed that again, I'm a kumu and Ōlelo Hawai'i wale no.
Absolutely.
But that's not the case in every household, so
Yeah.
We're very fortunate again that a kumu hula, a Hawaiian musician, mama and a kumu Ōlelo Hawai'i papa that we're a little bit fortunate there. Yeah.
So I'm seeing a really common theme here that there's a lot of there's a lot of challenges, but the benefits are far outweigh the challenges. And a huge part of seeing these benefits transpire is having a really strong support system. So that brings me to Imai Kalini and Noelani. If you guys want to share a little bit about your bilingual ohana from your hiapo to your muli.
Well, kind of picking up on what you were talking about with you, Napua, and I having like our first wave and then the second wave.
Yeah.
And just the struggles of or the differences of being a young mama to being a later mama. So with our hiapo, Hina, we were fortunate to be able to find childcare in Ōlelo Hawai'i from when she was like 2. And then she was able to actually go into Punana Leo half a year early. But then right at the time she entered Punana Leo, her dad and I split up, and it was difficult, because you're trying to figure out co-parenting while also your relationship is totally transforming, and you're required to be at the school all the time, scrubbing toilets and all that kind of stuff. So we made it through that point. But then when it came to deciding whether to keep her in Kaiapuni or not, we just weren't in a place in our relationship as parents, co-parents, that we could really support that. And so she went into an English language school. Later on, I actually tried to get her back into Kaiapuni, but it was too late. They didn't want to let her in at I think it was 3rd grade or something. But so the only Ōlelo Hawai'i at that point was really happening in our home when she was with me, to the extent that I could, which when you're tired and you're a young mom trying to deal with all these things was if I can read a book without falling asleep, then great, and use the Ōlelo that I can. And then Imai came into our lives when she was 7. And so that was great to have that additional support in the Ōlelo Hawai'i side of things, and just all of the living culture. And kind of just reaffirming what Hana was saying, that everybody has their gifts, right? And what we've all been saying too, it's not just the Ōlelo is one part of raising our keiki to have this particular kind of worldview and perspective and value. And so anyway, then we had La'i, and I was a experienced mom and he was a brand new dad. And one of the things that was really beautiful to me that he was able to give to her was that, you know, I breastfed all the kids. And so you develop a really close relationship with the baby from a young age. But one of the things that he would do is, you know, when they're at that young age, when it's hard to sleep all the time, he would take them outside, like with La'i, he would hold her, walk outside at, you know, sunrise and chant to her. And that was kind of his way, and he can say more about that. But yeah, that was something that I really always thought was so beautiful to see. And then, so our two that we have together are in Kaiapuni, or have been in Kaiapuni. La'i just left Anue Noi, and she and Ayla, Puali's Hiapo, are 7th graders at Kamehameha.
My Kia'i. Aloha, Imai.
For all of you who are watching this program and are thinking, is it a good idea to send my kid into Ōlelo Hawai'i immersion? Yeah, it's an awesome idea. When I came into, just a little background, my family did not speak Ōlelo Hawai'i. My mom, however, is pure Hawaiian from Ni'ihau, and that was sort of our major crown jewel of our ohana. But the benefit of having a multilingual, a bilingual ohana is its healing aspect. My mom put a lot of pressure on me when I was young, and I went to a school for Hawaiians to Ōlelo Hawai'i. And so I did. When I went to college, I continued to Ōlelo Hawai'i because I got in the I'ini just because of the path that I had taken. And I thought that that meant something that was very important to my mom, and it still is. But nothing showed me the value of Ōlelo Hawai'i like the moment when my mom first heard my daughter into Ōlelo Hawai'i. And you could see like our people, like if you imagine ourselves like this great big kuapa, right? And had this wave of colonization, boom, and smash them down. We get all these pukas all over the place, right? We lost our language, you know, we lost some of our kind of national, you know, memory. But we can rebuild it all. And so one of the things that I always like to think that Ōlelo Hawai'i and the home can do is to pani kapuka, to repair the breach in the wall so that our lahu is whole again. And for me, one of the most important things as a parent is that our children understand who they are first. Because we can never fully accomplish who we can be, fully accomplish our potential, unless we can engage in our own dynamic language. If we're always going to speak the language of the colonizer, then we will always continue to be beholden to that colonization. So part of our liberation comes with, you know, freeing ourselves of this foreign tongue. Not saying we cut it out, however, to recenter our language so that it guides and it becomes the pico of the things that we do, the things that we don't do. And so part of our journey all together is to try to push for the day where we can engage completely in all of our conversations. And I'm a Hawaiian language teacher at a Hawaiian charter school. And I still deal with a lot of the fears of like, oh, I wonder if that can sound as good. Kukini and I lived together for a couple of years, and he knows that I've always kind of scratched his head about some Ōlelo Hawai'i here and there. So I definitely believe that the success of a Hawaiian language family needs to be in your community, the people that you can count on to, you know, pass on here and there. And it's not just for the kids. I mean, a kid is good, but for us, like we need that community of people, and there are people I have in my personal community too that really help to elevate my own Ōlelo Hawai'i, not just by the things that they teach me, but just by letting me listen to them Ōlelo Hawai'i. That's to me is the strongest way, and I was privy to be in some very good conversations. Maka Ōlelo Hawai'i wale know about some very high theoretical, you know, Hawaiian, you know, philosophy, and it kind of makes me pause and think like, wow, we've come a really long way versus, you know, like when I was a freshman learning He Puke Keia, you know, all of these very intermediate, very beginning phrases. But it's the ano, it's the seed that grows, you know, throughout their entire life. So Ōlelo Hawai'i is a lifelong journey. You're never gonna get there. It's never gonna be done. It's the process. And so for all of us guys, we gotta commit to each other that we're gonna try our best to get to that process together. Boy.
My Kia'i. Beautiful, beautifully said. I think a lot of us agree with everything that everyone has said here. You guys are so awesome. So, gosh, you guys covered so many of the questions just in that one question. That's awesome. So I'm going to kind of skip to the end, and then it's a all-encompassing question again. So, you know, there's so many benefits as well as challenges when you raise a bilingual keiki, maka Ōlelo Hawai'i. And so I just wanted to touch on, like, if you could give any advice in a nutshell, not really a nutshell, you don't have to rush or anything, but, you know, kind of touching on the benefits and the challenges and some really beautiful outcomes that have come out of raising your children the way you have. So I was just going to touch real quickly on our keiki.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I remember. So our hiapo, Kahale, he, I remember him crying to me in first grade, and I had to close all the windows in the portable because he was like bawling his eyes out, you know, and he was like, the keiki on the recess field don't want to play with us, you know, all the English keiki. There was a segregation that was happening on the recess field. And in first grade, he couldn't comprehend why he was different or they treated him differently. And so he was saying, why are you making me do this? And I remember my heart just broke. I started to just cry with him, but I was crying for a whole different reason. I said, son, I'm so sorry, but one day you'll know why. You know, mommy wants to give you this gift, a makana. This is a makana. And he was like, nothing's going to convince me, you know? And so there was this segregation that was happening, and it really affected him. And so as he became an adult, like I was explaining, he had to write his essays for college, and a lot of his essays went back to that moment. And I just read it recently, and I just started crying again because, you know what, that day came and now he understands. So I wanted you guys to just share a little bit about, you know, those types of stories. So I'm gonna go back to Huali'i, if you're ready, or Napua Aya Oi.
I just wanted to say first, like, I have great mahalo, Maile, for you and Noi. I think great examples of being raised speaking Hawaiian is not a limitation, but like gives them a surplus. Watching you folks, Keiki, go to college. You know, we don't see each other, but thankfully, like social media, I get to act like I know, yeah, what's going on. And I've watched the both of you with the oldest kids and that journey, and I think it's important, and mahalo for sharing the journey, because it gives us, you know, Kahiawe is only 8, but it gives us a, like, yeah, you know, like my keiki does it. It's not a limitation on them because they raise this way. And your son at first grade, but that's just how much this world has changed in Ōlelo Hawai'i, because your son at first grade felt like that. And I'm sure a bunch of us when we was young felt different because we had i'ini for those all things Hawaii, and it wasn't accessible, so we was doing searching and was the only one of our friends that was doing those things and whatnot. But look though at our babies now, like my son, he looked down at everybody that don't speak, kind of. You know, like he has that face when he goes, oh, she doesn't understand. But he differentiates, and not only him, but my cousin. That would have been a good ohana to have on here too, is Kamakoa and Ipole. Raising
next
their
one. Yeah, next one.
Yeah,
the next one.
Because I remember like their keiki at like Thanksgiving, we all sitting at the table, and I think Keli'i was only like 4 years old or whatnot, and she was playing restaurant. Oh, we're playing hale we're playing restaurant, and go around the table and take our orders. So she come to me, she asked me in Hawaiian. She go to Kukini, ask in Hawaiian, Kamokoa in Hawaiian. She go to my mom, ask in English. You know, certain people she asks in English. And my mom was like, oh, how's this Kiki? How come she asking me in English? Like, they know.
Yeah.
And our Keiki being educated like this, they don't have that hila. They don't have that. And for me, that was like, I watched an interview that I did like 10 years ago, saying that, you know what, going to have one day that our kids not going to be shamed at all. And that day is here.
Yes.
They're not going to be shamed because they speak. They're going to feel sorry for you because you don't understand. And I think for me as a mom, like, yeah, and as a Kanaka, like I think that's a good place to be. No more shame for our kids anymore. Shame when you don't understand. Putting you because you don't understand me. You know, like it's starting to turn.
Shift, absolutely. Yeah. And I wanted to mahalo you, you know, I mahalo you for being part of my Waʻa and Noe, and you know, so many of you have been a part of our Waʻa. And you know, when you started to talk, I got full body, you know, wapika manene. I got full body chicken skin because I realized how powerful you guys, a role you have played in my Keiki's lives. And I just mahalo you. And that's really the main mana'o we want to walk away from, is when you're raising a bilingual Keiki, it's not you doing it alone. You know, you have to make sure you have your Wa'a set and everybody knows their seats and what their role is in that Wa'a. So mahalo na pua. Mahalo na pua. Holi'i, would you like to share a little bit about some benefits, challenges, advice that you would give?
I would, you know, the biggest, it wasn't an option for us to, or for me, to not send the girls. Oh, did I get cut off?
No, your face froze, but you're still there. Can you talk? Oh, we lost Tiffany.
Tiff!
Maybe we'll have Kukini. You want to kind of piggyback off of Napua, Hiki?
Yeah, Hiki no. Yeah, you know, for the parents, you know, I tell my students all the time, like language is the words you put to your worldview. Yeah, it's the words you put to your worldview, and by learning another language, it opens you up to the beauty of another perspective, another worldview. And within our languages, there's so much on how as Kanaka we perceive our world. And so, you know, definitely that's you know, that's one of the pluses. And then also, you know, we're all on different levels of language acquisition, and not for be hila, you know, that you gonna make mistakes and continue to try, and even some of us, you know, I've been learning Ōlelo Hawai'i for like 25 years now, and my language is still blossoming, you know, and that, you know, every day our language will blossom more, and every day to continue to work at our language and to learn more and to continue to improve our language and you know, and that not to get, you know, don't be hard on yourself that you know, you don't Ōlelo Hawai'i, but you know, start taking classes and komo with your keiki, and you know, I remember a talk Yapo Pereira did a few years ago, and you know, he kind of talked about, you know, the naysayers that say, you know, if your child takes you put your child in immersion, then they're going to be deficient in this and this and this, and he's like, how dare we think that our kids can't do that? Like, why would we ever put a limitation on anything that our keiki can do? And how dare we have that mentality that kids cannot do that. And our kids can do anything they want to do. You know, they can be bilingual, trilingual, polylingual, you know, like, and plenty of places throughout the world, children speak multiple languages. You know, it's only because of the influence of Americanization and the importance of monolingualism, sorry, you might have to help me out with this big educational word, but only being able to speak one language is definitely a form of colonization, you know, and that you know, to allow our Keiki this, and it is a gift to our Keiki, and even us as parents to know that we can, and you know, to know our Keiki can, and know that we as Kanaka and our parents, our mākua, can also, and to komopu, to take the classes and continue to develop your language with your Keiki, and every day continue to blossom your language, and you know,
mahalo for touching on that, you know, and it is crucial, I think, when you decide to raise your Keiki bilingual in any language, that you're committed to it. You're committed to it. And either you commit yourself through, you know, trying to at least, you know, learn a little bit, you know, using simple commands. It can start, you know, using hapa ōlelo. So you throw in the Ōlelo Hawai'i words in between your English words, but your Keiki really needs to show that you value it. I mean, you have to show to your Keiki that you value it, kalamai. And once they see that, then they can grow, yeah? So Huali'i, can you share some advice or about benefits, challenges that you would give a new parent that's thinking about raising their kid, maka ōlelo?
Yeah, so, you know, for me, it wasn't an option because I felt like I lost out on the opportunity to learn it myself. And I just felt really blessed to have the Ōlelo Hawai'i support with my kumuhula and you know, her whole ohana. So, you know, we went to they had a talk for new parents coming in and not realizing it, but what I think Kukini touched on it, that we all, like, you know, the English language or English concepts, our Keiki were going to fall back on because they weren't, you know, that kind of stigmatism and or stereotype. But the truth behind it is because majority of the people around them speak English, they're not gonna fall back, and they hear it, they can speak it, and it's, you know, I guess I would say one piece of advice I would give to any parent who is concerned about that, because that was our concern, that was Sheng's concern. Take control, you know, take control of that part. It's going to be a little bit more of an effort on your part at home to do that. And, you know, I'm going to say that both of my kids, I introduced them to English reading at 3 years old, and they picked it up fast. And it was just you know, for us at home, we did English reading when they were, you know, when they're supposed to be doing the reading logs. They wanted to read Manu Palu Palu every single night. And I was like, I had to put a stop to that, because I was like, you know what, I get that you love the book, I love it, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't serve them. So I had them choose English books first, and then they can read their Ōlelo Hawai'i books. So that's one huge piece of advice that I give to every single one of my parents who come through the preschool and ask me about, you know, and share with me those concerns about the English reading. Yes. You know, one huge benefit that I got in, even from when Hina, Noi's daughter, was a keiki, was just like bringing up the understanding of these holidays that we support, these white holidays that we celebrate, that the truth and the meaning behind it. And, in turn, she was able to educate us a lot about the backstory of things. And then, from that, I was able to, help to teach Isla and Ariana that, there are certain beliefs. These are different cultures. We just have a different culture. And so, it kind of empowers them. And like Napua was saying, like Isla, I gotta bring her down. Like I gotta teach, it's my kuleana to teach her humility, although she feels empowered. And they'll like snicker to me like, oh, they don't speak. And I'm like, and it's okay, but you speak English, so you can speak English to them. And, but you can teach them, and, or they'll say like, oh, they asked us this, like they asked us that, like, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And I said, why are you don't be ashamed. Don't, it's a chance to educate other people. Yes. It's a chance to educate them finally. And, the benefit of that is that we're educating not just peer level, they're educating us as well. And then, but then sometimes I got to tell them, like, I'm trying to speak to them in Hawaiian, and then I'll stumble on words and they're like, Ma, just speak English already. And I'm like, no, you got to help me. They in turn, they're teaching us as well. And it's the exchange that really helps our whole family. And like I said, Shang doesn't speak Hawaiian, but he's learning, because we actually tried, like, we're trying to plan a birthday party, a birthday celebration for him, and we're all speaking in Hawaiian. He goes, I know you're talking about us. And I was like, oh, okay, well,
super cold.
I guess we gotta see. No, I guess that blew our cover. So there is no fear. I would give advice to every parent out there: just trust the process. Trust the process. Trust the kumu. Ask a lot of questions, get involved. And most importantly, don't be afraid to speak to your kids, and don't be afraid to make the mistakes, because we make mistakes and we learn from all of these mistakes, and they're able to educate us as well. And they trust us, it opens a line of trust and communication between, the younger, the keiki and mākua. So it's been really beautiful in our house over this journey. And actually, like in Noi and Imai have been such huge figures and great examples of just how to be respectful towards others, and how to be confident and proud of who we are. And because they get that from in our people in our Waʻa, they're able to go out into this world and be confident and know who they are and where they come from as Kanaka.
Yes, absolutely. Who's on your Waʻa? So I really like you guys are hitting on some great points, and when you're talking about the English and the Ōlelo Hawai'i and parents being very hesitant, that is the most common question that I would get as a kumu kaipuni. My keiki's gonna fall back in English. And funny thing is, like, you have these kids in these immersion environments where they're learning Ōlelo Hawai'i as their first language, and they're struggling. And so the parents will pull them out and they'll put them in an English classroom, and then they realize that the kid is struggling in English too. So what it really comes down to a lot of times is that kid getting the support no matter what language they're learning in. That's like the hugest thing. No matter what kind of classroom your keiki is learning in, as a parent, you need to meet the kumu halfway. You have to. And when you do that, your kids will just, what is that?
I still struggle with English.
Yeah, right. Me too.
I never did speak English in my life.
I'm terrible. English grammar. Oh my goodness.
I tell people too that, it's sad, but, our keiki in Hawaii cannot not learn English.
Yes.
Even if you're Ōlelo Hawai'i, wale no makahale, everybody in the hale Ōlelo Hawai'i. It's sad, because English is everywhere in Hawaii. From what you watch on TV to everywhere they go, English. With the exception of maybe Imai's mom, who's on the Ihao. But outside of the Ihao, like it's you cannot not learn English.
Exactly.
It's like being immersed in another country where all they speak is that country. You cannot not learn it.
Yeah.
Everywhere outside the home is in English.
Yes.
Part of our Ōlelo Hawai'i history was over a century of a systemic extermination of that language.
Yes.
And so it took over 100 years to rip out the tongue, 3 generations. Right? That's it, 3 generations, just about. Well, my mom, Pure Hawaii, who cannot speak much of Ōlelo Hawai'i outside of the small stuff, you know, that small gap that we talked about, right? Pani kapuka.
Aye.
It took 3 generations. It may take three, maybe a couple more generations to get it back. So part of the reacquisition of our Ōlelo Hawai'i is a political gesture. It's a social gesture. It's an economic gesture, because we need people. For those of you guys who don't know how to support Ōlelo Hawai'i speakers, hire them.
Yes.
Put them at the front.
Yes.
And make your organization, make your business value and center Ōlelo Hawai'i. That's how you guys can jump in on the progress, because the Waʻa is moving. And you guys can jump on, still get room. Have your children marry Hawaiian language speakers.
Be strategic.
Exactly.
Have many keiki.
Right there.
That's another goal.
I get one.
It's all off to Ōlelo Hawai'i speakers.
Right. I get one funny story about your friend Kukini over here. Maybe we cannot include this. We gotta omit this from the
Omission.
But one night we was over here talking stories with my mom, talking about the blood quantum of homestead, blah 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 blah. And because Kahiao, I cannot pass this house to him. Because he no more enough. He not gonna have enough. And so my mom says, well, we just gotta make sure that we find him one Hawaiian wahine to marry. You know, maybe you gotta go Ni'ihao, find him one wahine. Kukini said, oh, how you guys know he like marry one bossy wahine?
We were just talking about that. That's
me, my mom, and my daughter Hiva, we all turned to him. What? My mom said, Kukini, what are you trying to say? That Hawaiian women are bossy? He was like, yeah.
We're strong.
Super strong.
It was mainly Ni'ihauan women, but after more discussion, a lot of my friends who hear this story, they're like, bro, that's all Hawaiian women. That's not Ni'ihauan women.
Yeah, I agree. Hawaiian women are strong women. You know, and that's what he was just telling. We used to tell our son, you know, like, you know, the ones, you know, he's like, okay, you know, you can do your thing as, you know, a young man or whatever, but the one that you can settle down, you know, the wahine that gonna give you the most hard rubs and gonna put you in your place, gonna be one kanaka most likely.
So
you know what I mean? Because that's
too
what happened,
early.
You know?
Not yet, boy. Not yet.
Yeah.
Just wait. Little bit long. When you ready, then you grab. Not yet. My son, Sebastian Kahale, I always called him the blueprint. That kid was invested in and was supported. And along the way, part of the reason why we all here right now and this online school of Hawaiian learning, Hale Hoaka, is because of, like what Kukini said too, like, the family hold the biggest responsibility to these children. The teachers help supplement and do what they can. We need our kids for speak Ōlelo Hawai'i. We need them for speak English. We need to arm them with as much weapons, shields, armor as possible going into this world. And I know for a fact that the blueprint, supporting him with Ōlelo Hawai'i, putting him in a loko ia, put him in a lo'i, use technology, mele, play video games that you gotta read
English.
English.
He learned how to read English on playing Pokemon. Because I said, you cannot keep asking me for read for you. And if you want to play that game, you got to learn how. So he actually learned how to play video games.
Pretty much. It was, boy, you're going to have what all of the kids get, and you're going to have your culture.
Mm-hmm.
When you put them together, no more line you got to stand in. You go straight to the front. You go straight to the front because you armed with more than any average Americanized kid coming up. That
Absolutely.
is just your counterparts. You way more loaded. You way more ready.
Absolutely. And I think it really gave them, like how you guys keep mentioning the world view. And I completely agree. It gives them this almost like a third eye, this insight that others just don't have, that Ōlelo Hawai'i can offer. And, and it's possible. I mean, our second, Keiki, Kahale went to Pomona. Our second Keiki, Kapili, she's at Princeton now. And they're both Keiki Kaiapuni. All of our Keiki are doing so well, and it's just really amazing to see. And it's living proof.
And from Molokai.
From Molokai, off grid.
Totally off grid.
I think that is, to me, that's incredible. Not just like Keiki raised Maka Ōlelo Hawai'i, but Keiki raised on Molokai, where people like to, I think they misunderstand or like to mistakenly assume that no more enough, or no more.
Mm-hmm.
But that speaks a lot to your Keiki, where they are today, speaks a lot to like what Kukini is saying, like our first and most important place of learning and teaching is makahale.
Mm-hmm.
And if what I observed with you folks also, and it's interesting, Hānai, when you first was talking, you was talking about, I feel shame because, I cannot Ōlelo, you wasn't intending on teaching your Keiki, you were just going to find somebody, make Keiki with that was going to teach them. I think Kukina and I did kind of the same thing, like, I mean, he cannot chant and do hula, you know what I mean? And I cannot kind. So it was like, hey, maybe we can work this out, But what I observe with you folks too is and what I think is important is getting out of the model of what is success.
Mm-hmm.
If as I observed you folks raising the kids while we was, in halau and whatnot, you guys always encourage kahale to like play music, music, the art, all these different creative outlets, hula and whatnot with your daughters.
Poetry, yeah.
Poetry, the slam poetry stuff that you guys do. So I think sometimes people get stuck on the like school and education, and there's this one model of success. But you folks gave them such this well-rounded, and even you folks time over there at the Lokoi'a, like there was so much and Hānai, even without Ōlelo, you gave them and are giving them all of that, like with Kukini and I, like he comes from Makakilo, but our son is gonna be raised a country boy, So Kukini is not gonna be able to teach him how to hunt and do those things. But we have an ohana where, like when Kahiao did his kaimua, what was last year? In it, like my first husband, my son from my stepson, that from my first husband, they're all included in his makua kane. They country, they teach him. They can teach him the hunting, the fishing, like all those things. You bring that valuable knowledge to your ohana, to your keiki. That Maile wasn't going to go hunt and skin deer.
I can cook them.
he can soak that bug of teriyaki. That's the meanest teriyaki venison I ever eaten in my life. Was at you guys' house.
Yeah.
I always tell people, oh my gosh, I never did taste teriyaki venison, the breaded kind, more better than Q. Don't even go QPs on Maui because that was so fun. But every makua, even when we think we cannot do it as good or we're ill equipped, we're bringing something to the table, and it's something valuable, and you know, open.
I love that. Yes.
Thank you.
What are you bringing to the table? I love that. So does anybody want to, Noe, Imai, you guys want to give any advice, or you guys?
Sure. I just want to echo and mahalo the Waʻa of Makua that are gathered here. And I think one of the things for me now, having been a parent for 21 years, is like you realize that each of your keiki has their own gifts, they have their own personalities, and when we're able to raise them in a community with makua who can reflect all the different ways to be brilliant, talented kanaka, then they can see that I don't have to follow this one standard path. I don't have to be just like mom or just like dad. I can be like auntie, I can learn this from these makua who are around me. And so like just that alone is so valuable. And I think we wouldn't be able to be the makua that we are without you folks. And, everybody has to find that wa'a and that community. But I was just going to share two quick things of, as far as benefits and then like kind of the advice part. So one of the benefits has to do with the identity part, knowing who we are. Yeah. And our middle, so our 12-year-old, she's a very fair kanaka. She's like ehu to the max. She's blondie almost. And went through a period at school, which I didn't really anticipate, but where she was feeling like singled out in some way for how she looked and not being Hawaiian enough. And, being able to just talk to her and say, nobody can take your genealogy away from you. Nobody can take your ōlelo away from you. Nobody can take the things that you know how to do and the pilina that you have away from you. You are who you are, and you can know who you are, and to be able to know and have those discussions at that early age, like, 3rd, 4th grade, and then kind of re-solidify who they are. It was something I wasn't anticipating, but I'm really glad that she had that early on and that she could have that as one more reason why, she commits to like ho'opa'a, the knowledge that she has and her ōlelo. And on the benefit, I think though, of being there is that she's surrounded by amazing kumu and other ohana. The kumu at Kaiapuni that we've experienced are so dedicated, just really care for the keiki so much.
That's like our
and I can't even get into all of the ways that she's benefited from being cared for by those kumu who work so hard and who are given low pay, no glory, not recognized in any way on a regular basis, but day in and day out for years, like decades. Some of the kumu at Anuenue have been there, and just so grateful. And one of the moments that I think of when that really like all came to fruition was she had been reading about Kalakaua, and I remember her specifically asking me as she's reading this book, like, what is the bayonet constitution? And the way it was described in the book. And I'm trying to think about how to explain the bayonet constitution to a 5th grader. But she also had the ability she's not just reading it, right? She's reading it. And then she also was able to go to this play, Ōlelo Hawai'i, written by Hale Hoaka Baker, that and see that story enacted Ōlelo Hawai'i. And then come back to Kula, and be given other ways, to say like, right, and ha'iolelo about it. And just the various ways that she was able to engage in learning that mo'olelo besides just reading it. So important.
Right.
And then to be able to see her in front of her whole kula, give a ha'iolelo about it was just like really one of those moments where, wow, this is when the whole community that's come together, all the actors who are in the play, all these kumu who are, her mākua at home, like all of those people who are around her in that kaiaulu and her giving that ha'iolelo, that of course it's her, but it's a reflection of all of those people and all of that struggle and all of that work that's been done for all these years. So yeah, that's, I think, one story benefit. And then I guess the real quick advice I would say, and if we had time I could say more, but is just like everyone has said, like, don't worry that it's not going to be enough. It is more. And any school you go to, any school your keiki go to is going to have things that you have to supplement, no matter what school it is. So you just have to be committed to knowing what the things are that you have to supplement.
Exactly. And throughout, Imai Kalani, did you want to share anything before we move on?
Yeah, I'll just tag on something. I had a chance to be in a Hawaiian language play just a few
yes, I know. It's so awesome.
You may have heard it. Played a certain Mary Monarch.
Yes, you played Kalakaua and went to you went to off Broadway and everything. A whole play in Ōlelo Hawai'i.
Right, yeah. So this play actually got taken to New York and was on just off Broadway, and it was all Ōlelo Hawai'i, and we got to do these incredible exchanges with some different people. So Ōlelo Hawai'i also gives us, just like hula really showed me like how much more of the world there is who is really, really interested in who we are as a people. And it really showed me the power of our mo'olelo, of our Ōlelo Hawai'i. And I remember both my keiki, my 6-year-old son at that time, and Lailai, who was just about 9 or so, they would come to the practices over and over again. I get excited just because they hear all this Ōlelo Hawai'i going on, all this mele going on, and then they got to jump in and be like extras in the play. And for a moment, I saw the future, and for many people, they think Ōlelo Hawai'i is the past.
Right.
But Ōlelo Hawai'i is our future. Like that's how we gotta see it. We need an Ōlelo Hawai'i industry where all of our people are being valued, with this specific skill that unlocks all of this potential that has been hidden away, for so long, even if it's in the Hawaii tourist industry, whether it's, Ōlelo Hawai'i in, music industry, it's all of these things we really need to take control of. And part of my interest in Ōlelo Hawai'i is not just being able to Ōlelo Hawai'i, but it's also it's also about control. Also about power. And to me, Ōlelo Hawai'i is about mana. And if you like mana, you should Ōlelo Hawai'i. You should try it.
Yes. So, I this quote always sticks out of my head, and I'm not even sure if Kihei Nahale'a came up with this on his own or he read it somewhere, but it always sticks with me. And he said, one generation's knowledge is the next generation's wisdom, which becomes the next generation's being. And so if you look at this, this kind of timeline and where we are in the, the Hawaiian Renaissance of the 70s and the Punana Leo and, this whole movement and resurgence of living and being Kanaka. And it's like, where are we? Where are you personally? Where is your ohana in that generational cycle, you know? And it's so cool because for me, it was like a mission when I turned. Noe actually was the one, I don't know if she knows, Noe and Kapali sent me on my path to Hawaiian studies because she wrote an article in the school newspaper at Kamehameha about Hawaiian sovereignty. And I had no idea what the word sovereignty meant. I wasn't clueless about the overthrow, and that set me on this path to curiosity of like, wow, what else did I not learn, you know? And so I had to relearn. So that my generation was in that knowledge, the regaining of the knowledge, and so I had to regain this knowledge through Kulanui. And then I'm thinking, okay, so maybe my mo'opuna, you know, my kids will have the wisdom, and my mo'opuna it'll be in their being. But what we saw happen was it just went, and it's their being already. It's their being. It's just who they are, you know. And all of you guys said that, like, it's just who they are. Like, they just expect, like, that's just how you're supposed to Ōlelo, you know. But we saw it just in our lifetime, and that whole cycle happened. So it's just so promising, so exciting, so hopeful that we are seeing this happen within our lifetimes, and even more powerful by the time we watch our mo'opuna grow.
I also just wanted to add real quick that you know, now with our younger keiki, social and emotional development is a really big thing in the schools. Focusing on their social needs and their emotional needs, and in a cultural setting will just enhance, you know, like will just benefit. They'll just benefit from learning everything and being feeling secure in their education, feeling secure in the home, because we essentially as mākua are their first teachers. Mm-hmm. And that essentially is our kuleana to make sure that they're confident and well-versed in, you know, in whatever we need them to do, whether it's language driven, immersion driven, or if it's, you know, just haole. Somebody wants to peep in and say hi. So, you know, giving them that confidence and tagging out on with what Noi had said. I can't speak for all of the Kaiapuni schools, but Anuenue in particular, the ohana feel, if you're looking for an ohana feel, I know that Anuenue has provided that for us, and that security, and knowing that that they are not just a face or another student number. They're keiki, you know. Mm-hmm. They're each individual's kumus or every single haumana in the school is that kumus keiki, and I get it, you know, and I'm sure you guys get it as well from being educators, but it really to be able to have that security at home and school will give the keiki a better endurance and motivation throughout their educational career.
Yes, absolutely. So mahalo for joining us again, and this was awesome, you guys. Mahalo for being so open and honest, and it's not perfect. And you know, that's one of the reasons why Hale Hoaka, our online school, was born, because not all of our Kanaka have access to immersion schools. We have more Kanaka in the continent and around the world than in Hawaii. And I saw a huge need and a want and a yearning for our Kanaka to have access to Ōlelo Hawai'i resources and online learning. So our online school was born from that. And, you know, so there's so many different models of what it would look like to raise a bilingual family. And of course, if you have immersion schools nearby, that's like the #1 choice. But know that there's so many wonderful resources nowadays, because like I talked about the knowledge to the wisdom to the being, it's like with that, our whole Kanaka world expanded. You know, so we have Kanakas in every field of every type of profession, creating amazing media, amazing resources, amazing tools, so that our lahui can grow no matter where we are living today. So
yeah, before we go, whoever is watching this, I'd like to say that you cannot just leave the educating up to the school.
Yeah.
Like you gotta put in. If you're not speaking to your kids, you know, if you cannot do the homework, like Maile would do the homework, go wash the dishes. You know what I mean? Go.
Or if Mama is helping baby with the ha'awina, then Daddy
go sweep the house. Go do something.
Hey, that's my
You know what I mean? Especially if somebody.
Kako'o looks different in every family. Yeah, it looks different.
But I'd like to very much implore the parents, especially like all of our generation, to do more. You know, be more involved with your keiki, pay more attention, give them the time, read to them, play with them. You know, do as much as you can, because they are our hope. Yeah. You know, they're our kupuna's wildest dreams. You know. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Is like, no, just leave them up to the school, because the teachers, they don't want enough pay. They're doing way too much. Yeah. You know, and we gotta not only help them, but help ourselves by helping our kids. And also know that you're not doing it alone. Yeah, we all have each other. Yep. You know, we've really, like, literally have had each other help raise each other's keiki, you know, and that's how it should be. Yeah. So I mahalo all of you, not just for being here tonight, but also being a huge part of our keiki's wa'a and each other's wa'a. And mahalo nui a o ko pakahia po. Love you guys. Love you all. And hope to see you guys in person very soon and give you a honi.